rough sleep for you too. Still kind of sick. You can hear the phlegm. I apologize. But we ball. Also, Bellular is amazing. So we're gonna watch him. This chat wants to know about the updates on Subnautica. Gotta be informed and whatnot. Smoke bomba.
The trial between the fired creators of Subnautica and Krafton
also ignore the chat box
started.
below.
The stakes: Krafton's reputation and a $250 million payout. But before the trial even started, things got weird. The fired execs claimed that Krafton's CEO asked ChatGPT how he could deny
what do I call it? Prize brought in by the tide? Booty? I don't know. You're asking me to answer things with my filmy voice. A surf prize. You're banned. You're banned.
their payout. A bit weird, but then Krafton put out a statement denying that that happened. And then the
You made me cough. Damn it. Omega, why are you giving me all these subs? The hell? Thank you. Thank you. Look, guys, we're at 9 viewers. We were at 20 like 5 seconds ago. All because I had to reset the stream. So it's saying 11 of you don't exist. Don't you just love Twitch right now? Anyway,
CEO
we
took the
continue.
stand and actually admitted that yes, he did use ChatGPT to try and find a solution to his problems, and then deleted the queries. But today's story's got a bit more than just that touch of destroyed
Lurker's
evidence.
gotta refresh.
There's even
I'm
a
sorry.
secret task force.
Or redeem,
So, with that in
raise the
mind,
timer.
let's get
I'm not
into
gonna
it.
raise the
Here are your
timer again
characters
for you,
today's
but
story.
it is
Unknown Worlds
alert.
are the team who makes
Redeem.
Subnautica. Then you've got Krafton. They're a Korean publisher. They publish PUBG, and they paid $500 million to own Unknown Worlds as they were working on Subnautica 2. And within that team, the important characters for today's story are Charlie Cleveland, Max McGuire, and Ted Gill. They were the leadership of Unknown Worlds, the people who were entitled to a performance payout of up to $250 million if the studio hit its revenue targets. Now, the way things worked after the acquisition were that Krafton just left day-to-day control to the founders, but that is a decision that perhaps would come back to haunt them. Now, in July, those 3 men were fired from their company. Krafton took over the studio and they installed new
You're not
leadership.
giving them that
And they
timer
also put
raise
out a
lock on.
statement. They said that Subnautica
I had to
2
reset
was
the
not
stream.
ready, that they were committed to releasing the best
Okay.
game possible,
Thank you.
and that they needed to delay. But then came Bloomberg. Their bombshell report directly linked the performance payout, the delay, and the firings together. Krafton responded to that, saying that the delay was decided before anyone was fired. And then came the other explanation, which was that the firings happened because the leadership had actually abandoned the project, with Cleveland in Hollywood making a Christmas film. This Christmas film, by the way. Yeah, an odd quirk to this story. And McGuire just not working on Subnautica 2. But then there was something else. A leak. A leak revealed milestone reviews showing that they had missed both their 2023 and 2024 release dates and needed about 30% more content for the game to feel complete. And I need you to keep that leak in mind for later. Now, Cleveland and company fought back by filing a lawsuit against Krafton, and that's why today's story exists. Now,
Turns out they were actually done. They were ready to remit, but the company kept trying to say, no, you need more stuff.
Now, as a part of a lawsuit, there's a phase called discovery. That's the bit where you are legally required to
It looks like just an old Christmassy cover.
hand over any relevant documents. That means that everyone's got each other's documents, and some of those documents are not quite good. First up though, we've got to decloud. You see, I'm currently saving thousands of pounds, and you can do the same using to
When you eat them, are they sweet? No. Yeah, we have a rough we're rough on the outside, sweet on the inside.
Today's sponsor, Ugreen. You see,
Yeah, eat them. for forbidden fruits.
Got a new NAS that is designed for beginners.
I should have said
It makes
pomegranate,
it super
shouldn't I have?
It's just brilliant. But I want to talk about the numbers
But
first.
then what, no, wait. That means we have seeds inside. Heh.
Right, so get a load of this. 12 terabytes of iCloud storage is £54.99 a month. That's $659.88 a year. Forever! Which is well over $3,000 after 5 years, and that's paying for storage that I will never own. So here's what the alternative looks like. You get a Ugreen NAS like this, DH2300. You buy two 6 terabyte drives for about 220 quid, and that's basically it. You've got your storage, and you've paid a third of the yearly price of renting that storage. It's completely insane, and that's without taking into account cloud and shitification and price hikes, like say the price hike that Dropbox pulled on us. I mean, the maths is just embarrassing for the cloud. But here's what actually matters a lot more for most people day to day. That the solution just works, and you get that with Ugreen. You can NFC tap to just connect to your phone. Your files sync across every device you've got, your phone, your laptop, whatever. It'll take up to 60 terabytes of storage, and for a clever little twist, the 4K 60Hz HDMI output just turns it into a proper media server, so you can stream your own content with no streaming compression, which is huge for me, and no platform restrictions. And
the reason enshittification is catching on is that's exactly what is happening. Like, there's no other way to describe it. And it's becoming more clear that it's on purpose.
Got AI photo management that'll help you actually find things, so you can search by words and images, faces, and stuff like that. And of course, it's got the NAS stuff. You can set up RAID to protect against drive failures, get proper two-factor security, and UGOS Pro, their software, is dead simple to use. So basically, it's a no-brainer, especially with the Black Friday discount. Just click the link below and stop renting storage that you'll never own. Literally, it's a no-brainer. It pays for itself. Okay, let's talk about Discovery. So during Discovery, Krafton argued that they only needed to hand over documents containing the exact words "earn out" and "termination." But the judge said that that was actually, quote, very narrow.
Why is stream dying?
They'd need to turn over more. Krafton also demanded to forensically inspect the former executive's
It better not be dying again. I just fixed it.
Actually rejected that as well. But most importantly, Krafton refused to share information on the state of the game before the filings, despite that being their stated reason for the terminations.
Just fixed
and the reason why is amusing. It's because Krafton actually changed their whole argument mid-trial. Now, Krafton argues that the leadership stole confidential documents and lied about what they were doing within their jobs. And that is why Krafton wanted to inspect their hardware. But there's a problem with that. The leadership only gathered those documents after they were fired, and they gathered them to retain evidence. That's the allegation from the Unknown World side anyway. Basically, the Krafton argues that the theft justified their firing, but after the fact, which you can probably imagine is a little bit strange logically. Krafton's new argument sees it differently though, that leadership deceived them about their jobs and then stole documents when they got caught. So, to understand what the Unknown World leadership are trying to knock down, let's dive into Krafton's side of this trial. Krafton's lawyers stuck to a simple argument in their pre-trial brief. Per filings obtained by game developer, Krafton says that the court is being asked to restore executives to, quote, jobs they were not performing and grant them control of, quote, a company they were not running in order to, quote, release a video game they did not make. When you say it out loud, it...
Wait, I'm very confused at what's going on here. Krafton's the bad company, right? Wait, so is Krafton saying to... So confused. So are they basically saying they have to rehire... Is this a wild pause screen? It shouldn't look like it. I'm trying to think. What does that mean?
Court is being asked to restore executives to, quote, jobs they were not performing.
Wait, no, this is what... Is this what Krafton is saying? This is what Krafton is saying, right? Okay. So they're saying that the people suing them are asking them to be put back on their jobs. Give them control of their company that they rightly had control over back to them. So that they can release the game that they own. Is that what they're saying? They're trying to say that they didn't make the game and they don't deserve to own the company that they own? Well, did own? Okay. For a second there, I was like, wait, so the employees are saying they don't own the company? What? I was so backwards.
And grant them control of, quote, a company they were not running in order to, quote, release a video game they did not make. When you say
Which is hilarious when you look at it and you find out they already had the game made. But they kept getting, like, extra stuff to do from Krafton so that Krafton didn't have to pay them. But they kept reaching those deadlines. Which is hilarious.
It's quite funny. Their argument is basically that leadership abandoned the studio.
When they didn't.
Okay, let's dive into more details. After the first delay in April 2024, Krafton quoted unnamed staff calling Cleveland and Maguire, quote, absentee landlords who were, quote, putting in near zero effort. And they cite emails showing that Maguire and Cleveland actually wanted to retire, but there is a problem. Under the contract, retiring would make earning the payouts quite a bit harder. So Krafton alleges that the trio invented new job titles for themselves to get around this problem. They then told Krafton that nothing would change, but actually told staff that things in fact would change. Krafton also alleges that leadership hid compensation changes, and this is when Cleveland's film work is said to have started. Now Krafton says that they never agreed to any of this stuff, and they frame Cleveland and Maguire as, quote, the magical pair. The duo that they would not have done the deal without. As we progress through the trial, Krafton's allegations follow a similar pattern, that leadership cared about the payout a lot more than the floundering project, and they even say that they offered the Unknown Worlds leaders another chance, basically saying, get deeply involved in Subnautica 2 so it actually comes out and is good, and if you do that, we will extend your payout window so that you actually can hit it. But they say that in response to that, Gil kept pushing for upfront payouts, and that because of that, they had to go. But there is more than that. Krafton also claims that leadership, quote, stole huge volumes of game assets and proprietary information while preparing to be fired. And Krafton believes...
Do they have any evidence of any of this? Because from what I understand, at least from before, these guys already had the game made. Like, they had finished months before the deadline. And that Krafton came in and was like, oh, and you need to add all this extra stuff. And they still reached the deadline. And that's when they were like firing them and saying, oh, there's an extension. They weren't getting the payday anyways.
So the judge has got to rule in their favor because...
I just know that apparently they already had the game done. Like, it was good and ready. But they kept, like, making them remake stuff.
Because the leadership, quite simply, broke their agreements. Now, rather unsurprisingly, the leadership does disagree with Krafton's position. The fired Unknown Worlds leadership took full advantage of the discovery phase, and in doing that, Krafton now only had two real arguments, both of which, though, the founders could counter with evidence that they got. Now, the founders don't dispute most of Krafton's timeline. What they dispute is Krafton's framing. They don't deny that the game was delayed, but they point to playtests from earlier this year as evidence that the game was actually on track. An expert inside Unknown Worlds also said that, quote, the planned 2025 release would have been best. That's an odd way to frame it, but basically, Krafton couldn't cite a single employee who thought the game wasn't ready.
See, yeah, like, from what I understood, the game was basically gonna, like, arrive on time. Yeah, I started canning Last Epoch when I heard that they got by Krafton. That game was already kind of questionable, but it had potential. It's just, it had the problem that I kind of feel like Path 2 used to have, which is, like, you couldn't really go into builds. Because there wasn't enough support for some of the builds. It only cared about, like, 1 or 2 builds in each character. Whereas Path 2 now has it where you can have supports on all skill gems. And they've, like, more fleshed out all the skills to the point where you can, if you try hard enough, you can probably go any build you want for the most part. Whereas Epoch still hadn't done that the second time I tried to play it.
Which does kind of echo the original Bloomberg reporting on
I think
this.
it was still a decent game.
Story from earlier. The founders also claimed that Krafton knew about the job changes and their potential impact. There are messages from Gil to the Krafton board members that are rather blunt. I'll read this one directly. While Charlie Cleveland attended meetings, he doesn't do any of the work on either the company or game. So with a communication like that existing, it's harder to make the claim that they just didn't tell Krafton things. And this is one of the reasons why, if you want a paper trail, send an email. Now, to back this up, they've also got internal...
Yeah, for those of you wondering what he means, when you talk about something important or something with a company or a landlord or anything, make sure there's a paper trail. Because the first thing they'll try to do, and the first thing their lawyers will try to do, is say, oh, we didn't know. Or, oh, they never told us. If you don't have evidence of the contrary, your argument dies right there. Whereas if you have copies of the emails, and you say, yeah, you knew, bam, there's a case. Because you've already disproven their defense. So now they actually have to go to trial. Because usually the judge is not having it at that point. Because that's a bad faith argument. The judge knows you were lying to them. Or trying to, at least. So usually the judge is already on your side at that point.
Krafton documents that confirm that Cleveland was not involved in day-to-day development and that he was rather just an occasional contributor. So, Krafton had been informed, had congratulated them on the changes, and had even discussed making Cleveland's Hollywood work an official Krafton role, even including a Subnautica movie. Yeah. Now, on data theft, it's a little funky. The leadership argues their positions entitled them to those documents, and since they only took the documents after receiving termination notices to protect the company and the game, that they couldn't have been fired for that theft. At least,
I'm trying to think. Is that theft? I don't even think you can count that as theft. Because they are a leadership role. So they would be privy to that information. They are the ones talking in these documents. There is no thing that they had decided, as far as I'm aware, where they can't look at the documents themselves and have the documents themselves. So them copying them over, is it really... I don't think that can be defined as stealing or theft. Well, no, Omega, they were trying to claim theft is the reason that they were fired. But they were fired before they took the documents. So you can't use that to define that like that. Like that, you got it the opposite way around. If you had fired them after they took the documents, there could be a little bit of an explanation there, but you fired them before. So their defense of, we got these documents to prove our innocence. Well, here's the thing, Stealth. They're two of the owners. Even if they were fired, they still have legal right to those documents because they were owners. Because you have to go through a bit of a process to fire an owner. So they may have been fired in a sense, but they hadn't been documented, like legally fired fully yet. They were still part of the company. Technically. It's a little confusing, but it still boils down to, well, this document proves their innocence. You can't throw it out because it directly like addresses what you're saying, and it's like contradicting what you're saying. It's like inadmissible evidence. Like you can't like dismiss it. Yeah, that's the thing though, Stealth. The way they fired them before they took the info that proves their innocence, it still proves their innocence. It still proves that Krafton is like being misleading and lying about a lot of what they're saying. So the document, it doesn't matter if it was necessarily taken wrongly. It's still evidence that, like, it's your own words. Like, they're typing. It's literally just their messages to them. It's their own words. It's not like they took their words as well. But it literally just showed what they chatted to the company. And then a few, like, little public statements. So really, none of it was like stolen in terms of legality. Technically, you copied it from their servers, but it's stuff you said. It's like I saved proof that I emailed you on the company computer. You fired me. Well, when I'm leaving, like I come back to like gather all my stuff. I copy over the emails I sent you. Just because it was on the company computer does not necessarily mean it's stealing. Because it's still my emails. It's still their emails. So saying it's stolen kind of doesn't hold water. You should have, if you really wanted to hide it, probably should have deleted it. Probably should have deleted their emails. But you can't, because that would be illegal. That would have actually been illegal.
It's not under Delaware law, which is where the company is incorporated. And what it cuts to is that being fired for stealing something that you only took after you were fired breaks causality.
Yeah, it breaks causality. How can you fire me for stealing something when I only stole it after? So legally, you can't fire me. Ergo, I wouldn't take it. Ergo, you forced the outcome of what you're claiming I forced. It's a catch-22. Basically, I couldn't have stolen it if I was part of the company, but because you fired me, it was stolen. You see what I mean? Technically, the only way for this to have worked is they fired me after, but they fired me before. Stealth, basically, because they fired them the way they fired them, legally speaking, it wasn't stealing. No, Stealth, the way it works, the only way for them to have been fired for theft is to fire them after they took the documents. But if they had, they'd have been legally allowed to have those documents. It's basically a nonsensical argument because it doesn't make sense. You know what? You understand what I'm saying, Stealth? Basically, they said, oh, we fired you because you stole these documents. But I got these documents after you fired me. You see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. The only way it was theft is because it's after you fired. But because legally they should be allowed to have gotten it before you fired, it turns that theft into not theft, and that firing into unlawful firing. The only way to fix it is to make you wrong, basically.
Krafton ain't sending their best. Though to be fair, they could argue that taking those documents is just further proof that firing these people was the right move. But to counter this, the Subnautica founders want us to consider the case of development director Mike Verrett. Basically, he also downloaded files from Krafton servers, but he is not an executive with special privileges. That would mean—
See? They're executives with special privileges. This guy downloaded all this stuff and he wasn't.
that under Krafton's own logic, he should have been fired as well.
He should have been fired. Legally, he should be fired. But he's not.
But obviously, he wasn't fired, and instead Krafton offered him, quote, financial incentives to remain at unknown worlds. Same action, different treatment.
Yeah, same action, different treatment. But the worst part is, legally, they should be allowed to take documents, and legally, he shouldn't. So why is he not fired and these people are? You see, it's a big circle of, but that can't happen if this happened, but if this happened, this can't happen, but that, yeah.
Is that?
Kind of stealth, except for you're thinking in terms of if they were right to be fired, but there weren't. So that doesn't matter. Sometimes, theft can be a murky area in law, especially when it comes to like people that technically legally have the right to have certain documents.
Because the co-founders would have been due a far, far larger payout? Maybe. I cannot say that, I can't make that claim, though I would imagine it's perhaps a mix of that and maybe Krafton, you know, wanting to keep their development director so the game actually gets developed. Now, the founders' reading things here is that Krafton's real issue is that damaging information went public. And by damning information, well, remember the milestone leak that I talked about at the top of the video? That. Now, the founders deny being the source of that, and instead, they actually point to Krafton's CEO saying that he wanted to, quote, make the founders look greedy, and they suggest that that might explain the leaks.
Wait! Did he leak it because GPT said that if everyone knew about it, it'd make them look greedy? And then he tried to make it look like they leaked it because ChatGPT told him to? Because if so, that's freaking hilarious.
Just certainly something. But you may also be thinking about that task force that I teased you with earlier. Well, here goes. Discovery also exposed Slack messages from June, and these are between Krafton's CEO, CH Kim, and his head of strategy.
Also, they're getting all these documents illegally in Discovery. So it doesn't matter if they were illegal before, they're legal now.
Richard Yoon. Now, the fired execs had been negotiating $75 million for themselves and $40 million.
Yeah, the law trumps NDA, always. That's why you can't NDA, like, very, like, fricked up rules or something.
From a total forecast payout of at least $191 million. Krafton wanted to cancel the payment entirely, and not just for the execs, they also wanted to cut the staff one from 40 million down to just 10 million. In Yoon's words, quote, "It might just be easier to take over." And that's when Krafton created a secret task force to force leadership out and to seize control of Unknown Worlds. And this is when Kim turned to ChatGPT in search of, quote, "faster answers." The fire leadership say he was asking it how to cancel their payout, and those chat logs have since been deleted. Though, if my understanding of things is correct, those should be obtainable legally from OpenAI, I believe. Maybe.
Yeah, OpenAI can. For those of you that use ChatGPT and don't realize it, it saves all of those conversations server side as well. So, don't be asking it to murder people.
That'll happen. Maybe it won't.
Yugi versus Ash
that
death
leads
battle.
to the
That's
founder's
fun.
final allegation here.
I might
It's
watch
not
that.
just about money. That it's about Krafton and its CEO not losing face. You see, Kim had called the original deal, quote, "one under which Krafton can only be dragged around." And he also told Cleveland that, as the person who signed the deal, he would have to, quote, "take responsibility." I think that ultimately paints a picture of Krafton, perhaps, like a lot of companies, kind of regretting what they spent during the pandemic. That's when interest rates were zero, markets were going absolutely insane, and everyone was indoors playing video games. By now, you've heard both sides of the story.
Kiri!
It all will
Hi,
come down
Kiri.
to
I saw
a
you playing
contract,
some
one
League.
that Krafton signed in 2021. One where they paid COVID hysteria prices for the company and offered an extravagant payout to its leadership, and of course to its staff. And a situation where they left operational control to the founders. Obviously, that relationship broke down. But for finality in this story, we will need to wait for the verdict next January. But the real question isn't just legal. It's whether anything the leadership did justifies what's happening to the people making Subnautica 2. Because if that's the thing you're actually excited about, that's what matters most. And those people are stuck in the crossfire. And that won't change until this is over. But some bad news has actually changed. Though it's about another game. It's called Hytale. It's no longer...
No, this isn't AI. This is about Subnautica 2. I would say that's pretty good. This was Bellular News. Obviously, go give him a like and sub if you enjoyed him. And remember, that's a booga promise. I don't know. Is that a good way to end the video? Chat, is that a good... Thank God it's not recorded. Okay, how do I turn that off? Does that work? Are we good? Okay, we're gonna turn that off for a little bit, guys. I love you. Thank you, Lopez. I appreciate it so much. Do it.
Guys, we're in some serious trouble. Gaming has been getting more expensive by the year, but right now it's about to get more expensive by the day. It already has. The same components that I have in my PC right now cost twice as much as they did.
Which is wild to think about. That the stuff that I bought a few years ago is now more expensive.
Just 2 years ago. RAM just rose.
And he said something that he brought something to my attention that I watched a little bit of it. He brought something to my attention that is messed up. And y'all are going to be like, what? When y'all see it, and I'll point it out.
By 200%.
Which, by the way, hello! It's Boca Reacts time. I forgot to do that at the start because someone will stop gifting. Know who you are. Stop it. Which reminds me, can I turn this on now? I cannot.
In just the last 2 months. And I know some people are going to look at this and say, oh, well, this is a PC problem. No, all these different components.
It's not a PC problem. I was telling that to my papa, and he actually got kind of quiet thinking about it. He has a little bit of RAM to give me when we're setting up the second computer next year. Because I'm going to do it over New Year's. Like, after New Year's Day, I'm going to take 1 day off to try to set up another computer. Lopez? Lopez. Calm down. That's what's sad, Alan, is I wanted to get another SSD card. SSD for my computer. Yeah, that's what I was explaining to Papa. I was like, cars now use it. This now uses it. This now uses it. This now uses it. Everything's gonna go up. All because AI, OpenAI, is scared of competition. And also because Microsoft is shoving it that way so that they can put everyone on subscription plans.
They're used in just about everything. Handhelds, consoles, whatever else. Everything is going to get dragged up with all of this. What's happening right now is that AI is taking over the world. Who would have guessed it? And these data centers are doing everything they can to be able to keep up with this AI gold rush because everybody wants a piece of that money. And that's pushed these guys to raid the consumer market for products, buying up everything off the shelves before we even have a chance.
Yeah, I explained to them that OpenAI bought 40% of the global. What's hilarious is, and a lot of people are blaming the companies that sold it to them, both companies didn't know that the other was doing the same deal. Because OpenAI didn't tell them. Do you want to know why? Because if OpenAI had told them, one of them would have dropped out. Even if it's a lot of money, they both are now worried of how this is going to affect everything. But what's hilarious is what he's about to say, which I didn't even think about.
To get our hands on it, causing a lot of scarcity and making prices skyrocket with no end in sight. The part that really bothers me with all of this is just how obvious this play is. These guys are just getting way too sloppy for me. It's starting to aggravate me at this point. Like, if you're going to be a scammer, you got to try to hide it a little bit. But these guys don't even want to bother hiding it anymore. They're not trying to do anything to fix any of these issues. They're not scrambling to
because some of these issues are actually fixable. They just won't fix them.
Fix any of these supply issues. Instead, well, they're milking it. They're keeping their production tight, they're raising the prices, and they're using AI as the best excuse possible for them to just continue to take advantage of regular people, to squeeze you harder than they ever have before. And they're doing it all with governments backing them. They're going to drag this out as long as they possibly can, because every single month that they keep these prices higher, they're just going to continue to rake in record profits. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about those insanely high prices and who's causing them. I want to talk about how I think the games industry is using this moment to be able to manipulate us, and how I think this entire thing might backfire on them in the most
There is a potential that this just all backfires and we get stuff for way cheaper.
glorious of ways.
Maybe.
This video was sponsored by Displate, and right now they are running their biggest sale of the year. From now until the end of their campaign, you can get up to 46% off site-wide using my code LEGENDARY at checkout. 1 to 2 metal posters for 37% off, 3 to 4 for 43, 5 or more at 46. The full breakdown is going to be in the pinned comment and on the on-screen banners, but this is the best deal that you're going to see all year. Displate makes high-quality metal posters that mount magnetically, no tools, no frames, and no wall damage. You
just announced 6 new AI mini desktops.
stick a magnet to the wall, snap the poster on. It only takes seconds, and these guys have over 1 million designs to be able to choose from. Games, anime, movies, fantasy, tech, you name it. And they're still running their officially licensed Path of Exile 2 collection. I definitely checked that out. I got a full set that was sent over to me, and every single one of these looks incredible in person. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more personal, check out their custom displays. You can upload your own images, photos, arts, memes, whatever you want, maybe a family portrait, and turn it into a gift-worthy metal print just in time for the holidays. Use code LEGENDARY at checkout, hit the link in the description, and take advantage of this year's biggest sale. We have talked a lot about prices on this channel, and we are going to continue to talk about prices on this channel, because if there is one thing that I actually want to bring to this space, it is awareness. Most people feel helpless when they see these prices spike. They feel like they're being pushed out of their own hobby, like decisions are being made for them by people who don't even care about games in the first place. But the more that you guys understand what's happening, the easier it is to see the pattern. And guys, navigating what's coming next is going to get very hard, very fast. After the reveal of the Steam Machine, the first thing I saw was everyone arguing about the price. A lot of people were convinced it needed to be.
And what I realized is what he says is Steam doesn't want to price it very high.
$500 or $700 at max, and that Valve should subsidize it to bring in more users. A whole different topic for another.
Here's the issue. Steam doesn't need to do that part. Mostly the people that were going to buy the GameCube anyways were PC gamers. If they priced it a little lower than most consoles are right now, they could get some console players. Potentially, yes, but like the trade-off there isn't that high.
Video because Steam does not need a loss leader to get more people through the door, but I took the time to actually dig into the potential hardware costs and ended up chiming in on Twitter saying that Valve isn't posting the price because they're hoping that things change. The AI bubble has pushed RAM to obscene levels, almost.
And it's definitely a bubble, by the way, guys. It is absolutely 100% a bubble.
200% this year. People are saying it should be $500. That's the price of RAM alone.
Yeah. That's why it's not going to be no $500. That's the price of the RAM alone. Is around $500.
Now, this is a bit hyperbolic, sure.
Which I want to think that maybe Steam had a deal with one of these places before this all dropped. I would hope. Oh. Coco, I just noticed it. Booga Booga is so very cute. Go, go. But, chances are probably not.
I was using the highest end hardware prices, but the more that I researched this trend, the darker the picture became, not just for Valve's console, but just for gaming as a whole. Right now, we're seeing hardware prices skyrocket across the board. All of it's tracing back to rapid data center expansion, a tidal wave of investment that's been poured into AI. According to Stanford, the U.S. has almost already spent $110 billion into private investments just in 2024. Global spending in generative AI is already up 600% between 2022 and 2024. And in 2025, that number is estimated to hit $1.5 trillion. With that kind of money flying around, AI firms are expanding their data centers and buying up existing hardware at a pace that consumers simply cannot compete with. That demand alone is enough to be able to drive these prices through the roof, and that's before you even factor in scarcity.
And here's the funny part, the scarcity is manufactured.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. How many people have been ignoring this? We have seen companies and even the media try to blame these price hikes on tariffs. They've been doing it all year. We've covered it on this channel, but this isn't about trade policy. This is an increase. It's driven by raw demand for components, and everyone is just letting these hardware companies and these software companies spin whatever narrative they want, whatever narrative benefits them, with almost no pushback at all. How has nobody questioned this? These hardware companies are making record money off of the AI boom. They're selling hardware by the truckloads to these data center giants. They're soaking up billions of dollars in new investment, and they're still not expanding production for consumers. Instead, they're keeping their supply tight. They're raising prices. They're pouring all that new money into high bandwidth memory for AI. They could ease the pressure on the consumer market if they wanted to, but why would they do that when scarcity is letting them charge more? So squeeze the normal people while feeding the AI.
See? Why would they expand? They don't need to expand. They're already getting all this money, like 5-6 times the price.
Expansion that's only going to just make all of this so much worse. Gizmodo only recently picked up on this issue with an article titled "We're So Screwed," written by Kyle Barr, where Barr wrote, "We have been reporting about the spiking cost of RAM prices since October. Essentially, AI data centers have such a demand for memory that the prices of SSDs, DRAM, and HDDs are all ballooning in price. This is most keenly felt in the discrete PC RAM market. Corsair, one of the most popular brands for fast gaming-ready RAM sticks, told Gizmodo over email, our DRAM prices have increased in response to the severe supply shortage we're seeing across the industry." And it just keeps getting worse. A pack of 64GB DDR5 RAM from memory brand Crucial spiked from $150 to more than $400 in just 2 months, as evidenced by Amazon's price tracking site Camel. Other low-end RAM sticks may see less of a bump, but users will inevitably find that the more RAM they want, the more it's going to cost. 4 sticks of 16GB DDR5 RAM from Corsair now sells for an astronomical $688.
Imagine before a full kit was at minimum $1,000 for a 256GB server. RAM is expensive. After a week after the OpenAI deal, it is already more th.
So yeah, and this is probably, I was looking at something like this, but now it's $1,000. Hello?
The same sticks in white demand $948, and they're not even the priciest RAM available. Guys, I want you to know that this is nothing like the crypto boom that we saw just a few years ago, where GPU prices were driven by a hype cycle that eventually died. AI is far more of a tangible technology. It is going to keep expanding, it's going to keep improving, and it's going to keep getting massive support from governments and corporations worldwide. Yes, there is a bubble forming, something similar to the .com era, where only a few players are actually going to end up owning the market. But even when that burst happens, the winners are just going to buy up the losers' data centers, and they're just going to continue to.
That's the issue. Even when it happens, the winners are just going to win more. So the winners absolutely don't care, even if they believe in.
Grow. Even if the expansion slows, that's still not going to fix anything for us. Keep in mind, after the crypto crash, GPU prices never really went.
The reason the GPU prices never really went down is because of NVIDIA. Mostly, really.
Back to normal. So hardware prices might come down eventually, sure, but they're never going to go back to what we used to pay.
I don't want to live on this.
And this is not something that's just going to be limited to memory or GPUs. It's going to stretch across every piece of computer hardware, gaming PCs, handhelds, consoles, phones, everything. It makes getting into the hobby, upgrading your setup, or even just replacing something that breaks insanely expensive for everyday people. And I think that's exactly what these companies want right now. They want to squeeze customers harder than they ever have, while raking in all of this investment and government backing, all to feed these business to business sales, while the rest of us are going to deal with the fallout. At this rate, the hardware market is going to become completely inaccessible for most people. I've seen people talk about how the Steam machine needed to be $500 or maybe $700 at most, and these guys do not know how fast these prices are moving right now. The costs have ballooned so much that I could easily see every single major console that's coming in the next couple of years costing over $1,000 when they get revealed. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, that's not going to work. Nobody's going to buy hardware at these prices. And honestly,
that's what they want. I told y'all about this a while ago. They want you on the subscription service. They don't care about their consoles anymore.
I think that's exactly what some of these companies are counting on.
Microsoft's literally planning that.
Nearly every major publisher in the gaming industry has gone all in on AI. EA just announced their partnership with Stability AI. Ubisoft has come back from their little media silence with some new AI deals and a push for AI teammates to replace making actual.
I'm not playing any game that adds those. I'm sorry. I want my viewers to play with me, or my friends to play with me.
Friends, which is incredibly bleak, but the clearest example here is Microsoft. They have poured billions of dollars into OpenAI and Anthropic, and they've committed another $80 billion to AI-enabled data centers. They are directly feeding into the same expansion that is driving hardware costs through the roof, the same expansion that they blamed on tariffs. It is a mutually beneficial relationship for them, not for us. Guys, this is the oldest trick in the corporate playbook. Create a problem and then sell the solution. If people can't afford gaming hardware anymore, well, that becomes the perfect opening to be able to push cloud gaming, where you don't need to have a console or a PC, just a screen and a subscription. I talked about this in my video, This is the Last Warning, where I argued that Microsoft was pushing prices higher on purpose to be able to funnel players into cloud services where they already have been testing ads inside of their games.
A lot of people don't understand that GDDR memory is made with the same production plant and silicon wafer where DDR4 and 5 is made. So thinking that GPU and console will not
go up in price is a pure daydream? Yes, absolutely. All of these things are going up.
You're crazy to think that. You're crazy to think that this is all connected. Guys, I do not think you understand how big the gaming industry actually is, okay? The US entertainment sector is the largest in the world, and gaming alone is 3 times. It makes 3 times as much as film and music combined. It's still young, it's still easy to manipulate, and there is a lot of money on the table for anybody that can wedge themselves in that ecosystem, especially if they can figure out how to force ads into whatever they want, whether we like it or not. So when I see this, I do not see a bunch of different trends happening all over the place. I see one big pattern. And I'm not saying that, oh, it's gaming that's helping to push this entire AI situation.
That just happens to be a nice little addition that they are happy with.
No, it just so happens that, well, it's just falling in the perfect spot for these companies to be able to take advantage of it. And of course, they're going to be taking advantage of it. That's exactly what they're doing right now. It's where coincidence and opportunity have collided for these guys. And it just so happens that your money, your hobby, and your enjoyment are caught in the middle of it. Ironically, this is happening at the worst possible time for us because the console wars are effectively dead. Exclusivity is largely gone at this point outside of Nintendo, and these guys don't care about pushing their games to be able to make profit. They're trying to profit off of their services and off of their hardware now. All the stars are aligning in the wrong.
What's hilarious, though, is what he's about to address. That I absolutely was like, wait, well, there's maybe a silver lining here.
Way for us at this moment. There is so much money hatting going on in AI right now. This is absolutely crazy. Every single one of these companies has their hand in each other's pockets. If you see where some of this money goes, you see one company gives it to another, that company gives it to another, and then it goes straight back to the source. They're just circling all this wealth while squeezing us as hard as they possibly can, trying to make as much money off of us as they possibly can and force us into poverty is what it feels like. Probably actually exactly what, I don't want to talk about that right now. I mean, NVIDIA.
Careful, Trops. Don't start the tinfoil spiral.
And
no matter how
Microsoft
much it looks like it is,
the biggest perpetrators here, and both of these guys have cloud gaming services.
They both have cloud gaming services. They're both very happy if you don't get a console.
No problem with hardware prices spiking and people not being able to get into higher end hardware. That sounds great to these guys, and they're going to continue to expand. They're going to continue to invest, and they're doing that off of the back of investments that they're getting from private and public investors and also from the government. It's insane. These guys effectively have price control over the hardware industry because, well, they can just order them out of stock. Well, right now, this is limited to higher end hardware. It's going to trickle down to lower end hardware. I've seen some people talk about, well, I'll just buy DDR4. It's cheaper. You're not the only one thinking that. And because this scarcity is largely inauthentic and inorganic and is being controlled, well, that means that they're just going to affect those markets regardless. And the same thing goes for console markets as well. They can use the exact same excuse. Well, because the data center expansion, sorry, the GPUs or the RAM or whatever else is too expensive for this console. It's going to have to be more expensive. They're going to push it there too. And the reason why is because these guys do not need hardware to be able to make money off you anymore. It's not necessary for them. They can farm the people who can afford it, and then they can push those who can't into subscription services and cloud services where
DDR4 is not produced anymore by the big three.
Yeah, that's another issue.
They can feed you ads or you pay a monthly sub. Doesn't that just sound lovely? Now, I'm sure it sounds great to these guys. I'm sure they're all in on this idea. And if I was in one of those rooms, it would probably sound pretty good to me. But this entire thing is incredibly risky for them to do. Not because anybody's actually going to come in and try to interrupt it. That's not going to happen, at least not for a while. But they're under the assumption that customers are going to continue to chase them wherever they go. We're chasing the highest end hardware, the highest end games, but that's not necessarily what's been happening. See, the question they need to be asking themselves is what happens when players go in a different direction entirely? Because that's exactly what's happening right now. Not to interrupt the flow of this video, but man, it really sucks that we even have to be talking about any of this. We should be celebrating nonsense. It reminds me of how think raising the price floor is going to guarantee.
I'm mentally killing that in my brain. There's a reason we skipped that, because it looks like it's spoilers.
Them victory. If people can't afford new hardware, they're just going to default to cloud or whatever subscription service pipeline that they want to shove us into. And once players are trapped in those ecosystems, well, then these companies have full control. They can raise the prices, they can tier their app.
That's the thing. And once they get you on the subscription platform and they've locked out all the stuff, they could just start raising the price. You can't afford it? Oh, well, other people can. We'll be fine.
Access, they can lock features behind a monthly fee, they can do whatever they want, they can even slide ads in with almost no friction. That is the future that these AAA publishers want. Now, the problem for them is that I don't think this plan is actually going to work in the real world. It's built on the assumption that everybody needs the highest end experience, that we are all desperate for cutting edge AAA titles and will follow the industry wherever it tries to push us. But that ignores the biggest risk in their entire strategy, one that is already happening right now. What if people don't buy in? What if players stop chasing high end entirely? What if they split into a different direction, a shift that ends up starving AAA while...
And I hope this happens very soon. It's already happening, but I hope it speeds up.
Fueling the rise of studios who can thrive without expensive hardware. Now I'm going to give you guys two business terms: demand destruction and market bifurcation. Demand destruction is when prices stay so high for so long that people just stop buying a product altogether. Market bifurcation is when a market splits into two groups that behave completely differently. The haves and have-nots in this case, if you will. And we're seeing both of these happen in the gaming industry right now, even if the shift has been relatively slow. Just take a look at Steam's latest hardware survey.
This is Steam's hardware survey. And if you look, the really fancy cards aren't even near the top. Do you see? Look, the closest one is down here, and it's a 5070. And it's only at 0.99%. Whereas everything else is above 2%. And then one of the oldest cards ever, the 1650, is standing at 3% across the board.
NVIDIA's brand new 50 series GPUs, they're not even in the top.
And the ones that are increasing,
10, they're not even in the top 15. The 5070 sits at number 16. The 5060 is 22nd. And all their other high-end cards, they might as well not even exist at all. The top 5 are dominated by lower-end 30 and 40 series cards, and the GTX 1650, a 6-year-old GPU, is still holding strong.
It's going
People
up.
are not upgrading, and when they do, they're choosing the cheapest, most sensible option they can, either because of the cost or because they don't see any reason to chase higher end hardware anymore. I think that this industry has completely misread this. I think that they're looking at these numbers and assuming that people want the highest end hardware but simply can't afford it. But that doesn't really track with reality. The Switch 2 broke US console sales records by selling over 2.4 million units in only 3 months. And nobody believes that that's cutting edge hardware. People bought it because they wanted the games, not the specs. And beyond that, these companies are operating under the idea that players want to upgrade just to be able to play the latest AAA releases. But why would anybody want to do that anymore? Why would we want to spend thousands of dollars on a new rig or a console when these games come out broken day one? Borderlands 4 is still a performance nightmare with the developers issuing apology after apology. Monster Hunter Wilds tanked all of its momentum and its reputation because it couldn't run properly either. These are two of the biggest AAA releases this year, and both of them are defined by the same problems. There has been a sharp decline in sales across the board for AAA because people just aren't impressed.
Huge decline
Anymore. And that's the part that these companies don't
Not
really
even like
seem
a
to
funny
understand, is that when
tiny
your
amount
games
decline,
don't justify the hardware stops selling. When the hardware stops selling, the high-end market freezes, and AAA is going to be the first thing to suffocate. What I think is happening right now, and it's only going to get worse for the AAA industry, is that with these rising hardware prices, especially if they bleed into the next generation of consoles, it's going to effectively put a stop to high-end gaming entirely. They are building a price wall that people cannot climb, and in doing so, they're going to destroy their own demand. Players do not trust AAA enough to be able to justify a $70 game, let alone a $1,000 console or a $4,000 PC upgrade. And if they're not buying the hardware or the games, well, why would we be interested in the services that are tied to them? What is the point of cloud gaming or subscriptions if the games on those services aren't worth our time? all that I think is actually going to happen is that this market is going to split. They're going to accidentally fuel the rise of AAA even further, which honestly is this industry in its purest form. Smaller teams, lower budgets, higher creativity, more original ideas, and no need to chase higher end hardware. These games are targeting mid-range or even older systems by design. And when you look at what people are actually playing this year, Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Escape from Duck-Off, Mega Bonk,
Hi, peace.
Ball Pit, even Stellar Blade and Arc Raiders don't need a 5090 to run well.
I'm using what's equivalent to a 3080, I believe. The card I have that's on my throne that I really need to get, I probably might just bite the bullet and buy it with like my savings that are supposed to be my emergency fund, but probably the smartest decision just to buy it before it goes up entirely. Like, buy it now before it like really skyrockets in price.
People can get everything they want without buying any of this high-end hardware at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
The funny thing is, when you zoom out on all this, there really is only two futures that are ahead of us right now. One is the one that the corporations want, and the one is the one, well, players are actually moving towards right now. The corporate one is pretty obvious: expensive hardware that nobody can buy. Cloud gaming is the affordable.
Oh yeah, Wade's gonna beat you a lot, Glorp. He's hard.
Alternative subscriptions stacked on top of subscriptions. Ads baked straight into the experience. A world where every part of gaming is metered, tracked, monetized, and controlled. That is the endpoint that these guys have been building towards for years. Because in that future, they own everything, we own nothing. But there's been another future that's been forming underneath their feet this entire time. And it's one that these guys just haven't planned for. It's a future built by AA studios and mid-tier teams that have been making incredible games that run on any hardware that people actually own. A future where
I think that's why a lot of Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games, when they pop up on like Kickstarter, they blow up. They get like 200% of their funding and stuff. It's people don't want your
Cyberpunk dystopia is coming fast.
people don't want your crazy The good thing is I don't think you need to kill him, Glort, by the way.
the most popular game doesn't require a $4,000 rig or a $1,000 console. A future where creativity outperforms fidelity, where studios that are willing to take a risk end up defining the industry more than the ones that are burning $500 million on another forgettable game. And I really think that this entire thing should terrify these AAA publishers. They should not be trying to lean into it. If these players stop upgrading, if they stop buying into high end, then AAA is the one that becomes an endangered species. The budgets stop making sense, the audiences shrink, and the only people that are going to be left thriving are the teams that never needed cutting edge hardware to begin with. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that decide where this industry goes. And if the industry starts building a future that we don't want, well,
graphics.
we simply just walk away.
Is what were you saying? But
I have a strong feeling that outside of Grand
Yeah, people don't want good graphics are like a modifier. I've told this to you guys before. I've like explained this to you guys before, that there's like this little, like each thing you add to a game adds a modifier that's either a good modifier, a bad modifier. And the base game itself is the game with basic graphics and like basic stuff. Then you add your modifiers in. Like to I'm gonna fight you, piece. But the way it works is very good graphics, pixel graphics. They all have different modifiers. Ironically, for the longest time, pixel graphics actually have a higher modifier than good graphics and very good graphics. Good graphics have a really good modifier. Super good graphics, it's like only 0.2 better than good graphics. It's almost not even, it's not worth it, honestly. The money, like, multiplier is, like, way higher and stuff for that little tiny bit of gain. That's why I want to try to get a 4090, which is what I believe that graphics card is on my throne. I'm going to ask Yui once more, like when we're collabing, if that's the one that is basically a 4090, and get it. Just look at my throne, Alan. It's the top, like, it's the #1 thing on my wish list after the Steam Deck. Yeah, PS1 was wild. That's why I might get that Nintendo DS thing that Muda was showing off. That might be my gift to myself this Christmas. Maybe. It's not too expensive. I think it's only $400 for how good it is for me, and I could just transfer all my games over from my other things and move on to that, and just that be my thing. Is that an NVIDIA card? I don't think that's an NVIDIA card that's on my throne. Unless someone else can find a better card for me. But, well, someone help me find, like, the perfect thing to upgrade to. Like, I will use it if y'all explain it to me, or B, get it from me. Because that's how trusted I am of you guys at this point. Y'all seem to always steer me right. But, like I was saying, going back to the graphics and stuff, Pixel graphics have a pretty good modifier. It's actually higher than the other two by a good margin. It's not very much higher, but it's... Because if you make a really good game, like bomb-ass game, and it's got pixel graphics, no one cares. Game good. I play. And usually the pixel graphics are nicer on the eyes. They don't, like, hurt your eyes as much. They're no longer being made, but you can find them. They're a bit more expensive, but... they're worth it. Comparatively.
Auto 6, if it actually releases, next year is probably going to play out just the same as this year. There's just not going to be a lot of winners.
I highly suspect next year, if it goes the way he's thinking and I'm thinking, I think another, like, either another card manufacturer or something's going to show up and basically take advantage of the fact that these other ones are trying to rig the market. And they're colluding, basically. And it's just going to sell the cards at slightly lower. It's going to sell them about to where they are a few months ago. Because if someone invests the money and does that, they're going to make a killing.
Play. I mean, more than half of the nominees for Game of the Year this year were all independent or indie studios. And that's not just, oh, these are just for the awards. No, these are also some of the most beloved games by players and also some of the highest selling games.
Yeah, there's not a AAA on the list
that we've seen all year. And that's going to leave these guys with not a lot of other options. I know some people are probably going to say, oh, well, then they'll just start making AA games themselves. They'll just stuff these services with AA and they'll stuff them with indie games. But that really doesn't make...
I don't want an AI card, Alan. Very badly don't want one.
A lot of sense. What is the point of your subscription service or your cloud service if, one, I have the hardware, so I can play those games regardless anyway, and two, those games are cheap to begin with. Why would I want to pay $30 a month plus to be able to play games that I could buy for $15 to $5 in some cases? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, Game Pass, I know right now is about $30. I can guarantee you it's probably going to climb to $35 or even $45 next year. Who knows how that's going to go? And that's more than most people spend on video games in a month. It just doesn't make any sense. Nobody needs it. I don't need it. I can tell you that right now.
You're telling me to get the 5070 AMD? The 6700 AMD? I know they're all I would really rather just get a 4090 if I can find one.
This is an incredibly dangerous path for the games industry to be following right now. And it's also something that they really shouldn't be supporting. I just don't see a lot of movement in hardware. And helping to push those prices even higher, you're going to starve yourself.
I think they've already gone over the threshold and they're starting to cannibalize their own audience to the point where, like,
returning to GPU because of the VRAM prices increase. AMD is already speaking with board partners preparing price increase. Nvidia still have good stock but shifted the RTX 500.
I know, that's why I want to get it now, as soon as possible.
Because I just don't see a lot of people that are chasing some of these new releases. Sure, we've seen some movement, we've seen some buzz, but I don't know if you guys have noticed this. With a lot of these AAA games, the minute that they come out, the hype around them dies like that. You just stop hearing it.
Gone. Reduced to atoms. All is dust. For my Magic the Gathering fans.
About them entirely. Battlefield 6, I think, is probably the only one that I could point to this year that has actually kind of survived for the most part. But Monster Hunter Wilds, that game just absolutely tanked after its first month. They haven't been able to sell. I don't even know if they've even sold another 1 million copies past the first 10 that they sold in that 1 month. That is crazy. That is not good, man. That is not good.
That's a very bad drop off, by the way.
And when we're starting to see equipment dive,
and it's okay that you enjoy it, Ari,
off of a cliff like this, you're going to have to come down to meet those players. And if you're not willing to do that, you're in a lot of trouble. I can tell you that right now. I'm curious to know what hardware you guys use. I want to know what people are actually using, because I can see a Steam survey, and I talk to people in our community Discord. If you guys don't engage in our community Discord, you should. It's a group of absolutely fantastic people, but most people there are on lower end hardware. A lot of people that I know outside of myself, the only reason why I have a rig as great as
what's hilarious is the only reason I have this rig,
1000 Super should even be decent if decently priced, but they don't even know when they could launch it.
I have, or as expensive as I have, is because of all the work I do with editing and recording and all that.
Same reason for me, basically. Only reason it's so high is because I've been using a single computer setup.
That stuff. Outside of that, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't get it. Are you kidding me? I'd be playing on something else entirely. I'd probably still be playing on the 2080 or 3080 that I have behind me. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where all this stuff goes. The one thing that I find really interesting about this, if you're a AAA publisher or if you're just a bigger publisher in the games industry at all, I would be really interested to see how they feel about a company like Microsoft having the influence that they have right now, because they're making
they have too much influence over so many areas of production and stuff. Like, way too much. As a government body, I don't understand why any president of any country is allowing this, especially America.
But AMD 9070 is selling well now than the price is settled, but now and is fucked.
Yeah.
Industry incredibly uncomfortable for a lot of these other companies, just as a byproduct of what they're doing on their AI side. All the investments that they're making, all the money that they're putting into all of these different data centers and things like that, the increasing of prices of hardware specifically pretty much across the board, that becomes a threat for a lot of these other companies. So I'm wondering what their perspective on this is. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Kick, follow me on Twitter, and make sure you guys come back later this week. I think I have like 2 more videos that I have to do this week. This one just kind of popped out of nowhere, and I was like,
yeah, like, basically it's not looking good, but it also is looking good. Lopez! Oi! yeah, that was drops. I told y'all I wanted to like readdress this and stuff and like put in some of my points. But that's the issue. That's another of the issues piece is just because it has a partnership with the military does not mean you should let it control the entire economy, because eventually it becomes the boss, which it kind of is trying to do right now.
Oh yes, AMD was preparing the 9070 GRE 16 gigabytes instead of 12, but at the moment is cancelled because of the prices of RAM.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking spicy. I'm gonna have to start posting on my membership forum on YouTube. And that both makes me dread and cry, because that's another area where I have to pay attention to and like talk to people. Introvert, by the way. See you next time, Lopez. Oh my god, I super appreciate it, but why? Why? What did I do? Ah! I'm dead. You win. I'm broken. I'm broke. Why? 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 I didn't do anything! Have a wonderful day, Lopez. I hope you take care of yourself. Please.
BTW, I saw a story about Sweden buying like 200 electric bus from China, but now found out they have a remote kill switch by the manufacturer.
A remote kill switch on buses? Why? Isn't that, one, freaking illegal, and two, freaking dangerous? Oh, I'm just gonna kill your car in the middle of the road real quick. Click. Oh, you were on a high-speed road? I guess you're dead. Kill switches should not be allowed in cars. At all. Thanks for the gifty, by the way, Lopez. Thanks for all the gifties. Oh my god, I'm like mentally, emotionally, and like just everything broken. Like, what do we even talk about? How do I address it? How do I talk about it? How do I say thank you for that? I don't know. I am not a big streamer. I don't know how you would normally thank you for these things. No, yeah. Yeah, I know, Self. Most likely the reason for that is peace. A probably a lot of people complained that their name didn't even stay up there. Or like the gift didn't even stay up there long enough. And then some streamers probably wanted to read each individual one. I would love to do that, but my ADHD would die about right around 25 people. So where does that leave the other 80? Well, you wouldn't normally look for that kind of thing, Stealth. That's not something you think will be in your car. They might lead to the next Fast and Furious movie. Who knows? What's hilarious is I just want one of the old cars. That's why some of the old cars are so expensive now. Not just because collector's edition, is because they don't have a computer in the back. Well, it's Sweden. Sweden's been always considered a neutral, always country. Why would China even care about them? Is the issue. Why would you put something like that in a neutral, like the neutral country? What do you think everyone says when like their friends are fighting? They go, "I'm Sweden." Like, that's where the meme came from. And it's wild that China would even care about Sweden. Sweden's tiny. And like, isn't it like halfway across the world from... It's against Russia? Everyone's against Russia. China is honestly against Russia. Let's be honest here. China don't like nobody.
Dragon.
Dragon. Dragon. Dragon. Dragon. Dragon. Hi, Coco. I'm trying to think what we play before Muma gets here. Muma said they're gonna watch a movie and then they're gonna start stream early. But here's the other thing. That doesn't affect war at all. Those electric buses aren't going to be shipped anywhere. They're for Sweden. Oh, I don't care about that level of political talk, Alan. But yeah, like just talking about some of the things that are going on in what I basically consider my job now stresses me out. I can only hope that evolution happens basically and things fix themselves. They balance themselves. Let me look at some other stuff real quick. And I'm gonna work on getting Mom to let me talk to the Amazon support again. I was already talking to them, but I completely forgot to keep talking to them. I had one of those moments. There's a clothing store simulator now? Hello? Storage hunter simulator? Are we just simulating life now, guys? Is that what's become of the world?
Dragon, dragon,
Dragon, dragon, dragon, dragon, dragon. Yeah, totally. They're gonna send electric buses to transport troops. No, they're not. That's just China being vindictive and paranoid. Like they always are. But who cares?
The ASMR dragon has been summoned by the fox.
Ari, did you redeem?
One boba simulator games are fun, especially when they're super janky.
I forgot we have another fox in here, and it's Coco. Coco, why? Why do you like ASMR so much? You like my sultry voice? Guess you'll die?
Guess I'll die.
No, you can't die. You redeemed ASMR. You have to live here. You have to be here until this is over. I don't apply, animalistic modifiers to my friends. That's why I didn't think of you as the fox. I thought of you as Coco. I don't think of your entire full username. I think of just Coco. I like Coco. Coco is my friend. And like the final thing I think about when I'm thinking about Coco is Coco is a fox.
To move people from the other part of the country is still made with conventional transport like trains and buses.
It's still messed up. Still weird. Like, what am I talking about here, man?
It's
Still safer than used planes.
I mean, yeah.
Speaking of ASMR, so it's gonna be the Pick Me Up ASMR video with Rilu. Who do you want to ask to join on the members only Mommy Dragon ASMR video?
Look on. Why are you like, but why? But why, lock on? Why am I inviting one of my friends to something? But why, lock on? I'll try and see if Shy wants to do it. She's one of my only friends that still does ASMR. We're not an ASMR channel. No more ASMR goals. No more. It's not happening. I'm putting my metaphorical claw down. Why do you guys like ASMR so much?
Bocath one Boba want to go back to the hell that is Arc Raiders now? That's a joke. Don't touch it till things possibly get better.
Ain't that the truth, guys? Which I feel bad because that's like the only game I can play with Furry right now. Because I can't play Battlefield, which reminds me, I need to ask Furry if they're okay if I refund it to them. Because I can't even play it. Why are we still whispering? Why are we doing this? I don't even have an ASMR mic. You know what? If anyone wants any more ASMR, someone buy me an ASMR mic. I can whisper in your right ear, and only your right ear. So your left ear will slowly die. Then at least I can make change in this world. It's not like I like you guys or anything. Baka. God damn it, Coco. Why are you redeeming these things? Why are you making me whisper these things? What's the point? You get a rise out of this?
That's a great idea. The new membership goal can be get a ASMR mic.
Do you realize how expensive those are? Fuck on. They're like a minimum $700. I've looked at them. No. That's a separate goal.
Bocath 1 Pat 4 more minutes since you saw it a bit late.
I'll stab you. Luckily, ASMR is over! Entry-level ASMR mic? Still around $500. I'm not doing that. You wanna know what's hilarious? I'm still recording. Oh, and by the way, guys. The 1st of December, we'll start the wonderful subathon, donathon, chaos. Will envelop the world in December! Okay, bye now.